Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayadure. Good afternoon. It is around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to different people all over the world. What I want to talk about today is we actually have an interview that we're going to do with Kristen Falvey, who's a local Truth, Freedom, Health warrior, scholar, journalist. And the discussion today is going to be on why does CNN protect Hunter Biden, and why does Fox News protect Booby F'n Kennedy, aka Robert Kennedy? And that's what we're going to talk about. And in that context, we're going to have a discussion about how the media, even though both Kennedy and Biden are very, very similar, as Kristen's going to discuss and ask me various questions, why does one group do? Anyway, let me bring Kristen on, and she's going to introduce our conversation. Go ahead, Kristen. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Shiva. Thanks for having me on tonight. I'm looking forward to asking you some important questions. So for the audience, I'm a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior, scholar, journalist here in Massachusetts, and we are all very excited about your run for president. And on behalf of all of the people here in Massachusetts and actually around the globe, because your campaign has gone viral across the whole world, I want to ask you some very important questions. Particularly regarding the media coverage that we're seeing on Hunter Biden and this guy Kennedy that you refer to as Booby F'n Kennedy. So we have some questions about that, the way that particularly Fox News and CNN have been covering these people, Hunter Biden and Kennedy. So just to kind of give a background of a couple of points that maybe you can address. So on the one hand, with Hunter Biden, I'd like to mention 5 things here. I would like to understand, Dr. Shiva, why is it that Hunter Biden had a gun illegally, and yet the left is silent? Number 2, I want to understand why Hunter Biden took money from Ukraine and China. Left is still silent. Number 3, I would like to understand why Hunter Biden committed tax fraud, and yet the left is silent. 4th, I want to understand why Hunter Biden was banging prostitutes and having an affair with his brother's wife. And again, left media is silent. Lastly, with Hunter Biden, I want to understand why Hunter Biden is an active crack addict. And yet again, the left is silent. When it comes to Kennedy, the man also known as Booby F'n Kennedy, I want to understand why Kennedy endorsed Hillary Clinton 3 times and the right media is silent. I want to understand why Kennedy supported his nephew in 2020, the nephew was pro-forced vaccinations. And
when
yet,
you say the media, you mean the right media?
Exactly, the right.
Yeah, you didn't mention that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, the right has been silent on this as well. 3rd, I want to understand why Kennedy supported lockdowns in 2020 and the right media, again, is silent. I want to understand why Kennedy flew on Epstein's plane twice, and the right media, again, is silent. I want to understand why Kennedy was arrested with heroin, and the right is silent. And, the list goes on. So, Dr. Shiva, if you could just explain to us, maybe at a broad level, what we're seeing here with the way the left and the right, the Fox and the CNN media, their coverage of these 2 individuals. Can you explain to us, what you see happening here?
So, Kristen, you're asking a very deep and profound question, and to those people who are joining, this is an interview that I'm doing with Kristen, who's a Truth, Freedom, Health warrior, scholar, journalist out of Massachusetts. I think, Kristen, you shared that the people of Massachusetts really want to understand, and I think for that matter, nationally, my run for president began with its roots as being an activist here in Massachusetts since 1981. And my history is very long and consistent versus any one of these presidential candidates. People will see me fighting on the streets, organizing workers, running protests, all the way since I was a 17-year-old kid. Till to this day, nothing's changed. This is not a bourgeois activity for me. I think you mentioned Kennedy was a heroin addict. He spit in the face of policemen. The Kennedy family can do no crime. They always get off. If any one of us did, it would probably in jail for multiple lifetimes. And same with Hunter Biden. So I think the point you're bringing up is, if you really put these 2 guys, they're pretty much equal. Hunter Biden and Kennedy as much degenerates as you can get in any realm, from a left or right standpoint, from a worker standpoint or from a conservative standpoint. But I think you're bringing up this important point. Why is it that the left is silent on Hunter Biden? And why is the right silent on Kennedy? It's a very foundational question. And the answer to that question is, if you remember the swarm video I did a couple of weeks ago, which went viral, in spite of all the shadow banning that the disgusting Musk and his cabal did, was it got out to around 5-10 million people, as we know, probably got out to more. But the reality is that Kennedy and Biden are on the same level, and the left suppresses negative stories on Biden, and the right now suppressing stories on Kennedy. And why is that? Right? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, precisely.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, because what it is about it is, if you look at the quote unquote CNN controls a certain group of the working people, right?
Right.
Quote unquote hardworking, union, typically Democrat working people. And then the right, Fox News, has controlled their claws into the people who support the First Amendment, Second Amendment, again, hardworking, conservative working people, right? So the left and the right media want to keep their claws in these people, and they want to keep them at each other's throats. So they actually have, as I described in the systems video, if you remember the swarm video, and everyone who hasn't seen, maybe someone could put a link to the swarm video up here, and I'll share it. But fundamentally, the swarm is not any one person. It's not the Kennedys. It's not the Bidens. It's not the Clintons. It's not the Trumps. It's not the Jews. It's not the Rothschilds. It's not the Catholics, or it's not the Hindus, right? It's not anyone. It's a multiracial, decentralized, highly telepathic group of people. And if you look at it, someone like Tucker Carlson, he was best friends with Hunter Biden. There's no way that Hunter Biden would have given Tucker Carlson a son and a nice, beautiful recommendation letter for a son. And in October 30th of 2020, Tucker Carlson told people to go light on Hunter Biden. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden also promotes Booby Kennedy. You see, they're all one family. They all hang out at the same restaurants. Their children go to the same private schools. They all bang the same people. They're a swarm. So that's the first thing people need to understand. To thinking that Hunter Biden and Kennedy, two degenerates, are any different, that's what they are. They're both degenerates. And I think we need to point this out. Kennedy's wife, how many women hang themselves and write in their diaries, my husband actually wants me to kill myself. Mm-hmm. And then 5 months later, he's banging the assistant to Rob Reiner, okay, in Malibu. And he gets married to her. It's a pretty, in 60 months, in 20 weeks, he's on to the next victim. All right. And Hunter Biden has the same illustrious career with young girls and so on. And you can look at the degeneracy of both of these people, the degeneracy of the Kennedys and the degeneracy of the Bidens. So let's be clear, these people are on the same degenerate level of degeneracy. Okay. So that's the first step we need to understand. So both wings of the establishment, CNN, suppresses any stories on Hunter Biden, and Fox News actively suppresses any stories negative about Robert Kennedy. Why do they do this? Well, you have to understand, when you take a systems approach, and that's what we teach, the one of the innovations that I've created, besides the other stuff you guys know about email, cytosolve, is one of the innovations that I'm really proud of is a truth, freedom, and health system that teaches people how the swarm works, how the science of systems. We built a community. It's an entire system. And if you go to truthfreedomhealth.com, I'll put it up there. People can understand that. And I recommend everyone go to that. I'll play a video of it. But what we teach from a systems perspective is that when you take a systems approach, you see the whole. Okay. But if you don't take a systems approach, you just see a piece of the problem or the solution, or the fake problem and the fake solution. So if a big elephant is standing in front of you, and all I do is focus on the tail, I'm a blind man, and all I'm doing is touching the tail, and you touch it, you think it's a brush or something, right? Or if I'm the blind man touching the trunk, I think it's a snake, right? And that's the way the swarm is. CNN covers the ass, of the elephant, right? Which is just saying or suppressing one view, being blind to one view, never covering Hunter Biden's degeneracy. And they talk about everything else. And then Fox covers one aspect of Kennedy, doesn't cover everything else. You see? So they take, in system science, we call it a reductionist approach. Okay? So Tony Klaus says, people are getting the idea, Dr. Shiva. That's what's great, Tony. The good news is because our movement exists, because my run for presidency exists, people are actually getting this. People are breaking from the clutches of the Trumps and the Kennedys and the Bidens and the Elon Musk and all that. And we're actually offering people an opportunity to see the whole. So that's the first thing, Kristen. So they actively do this. They actively cover, even though you have two degenerates, one wing of the establishment try to elevate one degenerate as though he's a god. The other wing tries to elevate another guy as though he's some poor kid, right? And both of them do that. They make martyrs of both of these kids, poor rich boys, right? Poor rich boys, they suffered. One had to be a crack addict and the other had to be a heroin addict, right? Kennedy gets thrown out of his private school, given everything, and then Papa and Mama get him into Harvard. You see? These people are not one of us. When you look at the whole, you start realizing both of these degenerates are not one of us. So what CNN and Fox are actively doing is trying to win one wing of us, the hardworking, union working Democrats, to feel sorry for Biden. And then they're taking the other wing of us, the conservative, hardworking people believe in the First and Second Amendment, and having them feel sorry for Booby Kennedy. And so this is actively being done, Kristen, to divide us. So if we ask the question, why does CNN protect Hunter Biden and why does Fox protect Booby Kennedy? The goal they're doing is to create a division among the working class. So one wing is feeling sorry for Biden and defending him, and the other wing is feeling sorry for Kennedy and defending him. Okay? That's what's fundamentally going on. And everyone needs to understand that when you take a systems approach, you realize that both of these wings have nothing to do with us. Laura Ingraham at Fox News, and Anderson Cooper, both of whom have the luxury of getting lots of plastic surgery, right? One kowtowing to Biden, the other kowtowing to Kennedy. They're not one of us. And that's really the fundamental takeaway. Both wings of the establishment are actively creating a dialectic. So we are put into this WWE as people, when none of these people are one of us. As Londo says, divide and conquer is the oldest trick in their playbook. Exactly. So for God's sake, please don't feel sorry for this degenerate Kennedy. I mean, go look at his history. He gets arrested, spits in cops in policeman's face, can do whatever the hell he wants, can drop out of high school, and then he gets promoted, the hypocritical, lying bastard, as though he's fighting for us. And Biden, he gets supported with all of his things based on the list you gave to us.
That's right. And Dr. Shiva, you mentioned Laura Ingraham, and I do want to ask you about that as well. But just to comment on what you just explained to us, I really appreciate that explanation. And based on some of the comments in the chat, it sounds like people are really getting it. And your systems approach and the education that your platform has provided people with is really helping the broader public to see this dialectic. But you mentioned one thing that I'd like to just sort of highlight is that these people are not one of us, and that the establishment is very clever in trying to get us divided and then sucked back in by making us think that like these Bidens or these Hunters, oh, poor Hunter, like maybe you have a family member with a crack problem and you feel bad for him, or poor Booby, got a divorce, whatever it is.
Someone just said something like this. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. Someone said Kennedy's essentially the white George Floyd. Exactly. Thank you. That's great. He's a white George Floyd. Yeah, Kennedy is a white George Floyd. Excellent. Exactly.
I think the bottom line is just they're not one of us. They're literally not. But moving on to, you had started to talk about Laura Ingraham. I noticed that you exposed Laura Ingraham on Twitter today. And I would like to ask you about what's going on there. But first, I'd like to read that tweet for everyone who's listening. Let me pull it up here. Okay, so here's your tweet. You wrote Laura, and you tweeted at her. You know for a fact in March 2020, Kennedy promoted strict lockdowns. Why didn't you confront him over his hypocrisy, lies, and duplicity? In 2020, he was a proponent of depriving the American people of their constitutional liberty. What is going on? And you included an interview with Kennedy, I believe, that Laura had with him.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at that, I just put it up here. Kennedy, the bullshitter he is, and that's what this guy is. This guy's an absolute douchebag bullshitter, piece of shit. Look at how much the Kennedys are all about changing history. Look at what he writes here, Clifton. They closed schools, mandated vaccines, and suspended the Constitution on shaky and unscientific grounds. I'm going to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. What a fucking bastard. This guy promoted lockdowns, period. And this individual, Laura Ingraham, was silent, okay? And so let me address that, but I want everyone to look at this. Laura Ingraham from Fox News has this bastard right in front of him who's a lying piece of shit. And that's really what we should refer to him as. There's nothing else to talk about, but that's what he is. He's a lying piece of shit. He's projecting himself as a fighter for medical freedom, for the Constitution, all of this. But Kennedy supported strict lockdowns in March of 2020. As you know, I was the one out there. We did nearly 10 demonstrations all over the country. I was the one leading those demonstrations, writing to Trump saying, please don't do lockdowns. And everyone go look at my tweet history and this bullshitter's tweet history. But how dare Laura Ingraham call herself a journalist? And how dare she attack CNN, calling them woke and she's anti-woke and all this bullshit. This woman, who is basically a prostitute for the elites, that's what she really is, and that's what she should call herself, okay? You know, calls herself a Catholic, a good Christian, and all that. She's got the bastard right in front of her. He's lying through his teeth. He's lying in her face, and she stays silent. Why is that? The reason Laura Ingram's is staying silent on this, as Northern Kayak says here, is Dr.SHIVA was on the ground and on video 3 times a day calling out, you know, in March of 2020, I was a real fighter of the people, using my science, my knowledge, promoting the immune system. Kennedy literally steals now, says, oh yeah, we need to fortify the immune system. That fucker wasn't saying anything back in 2020. He was pushing, he had already done a video saying, I'm for full vaccination of all Americans. He's pushing lockstep and barrel Fauci. So why doesn't Laura Ingraham ask him that? Why? Because the conservatives, who are supposed to be conservatives with family values, the hypocrisies, they're actually being silent on this guy who was on Epstein's Island, like you said, who's a heroin addict, you know, who's still on big pharma medication, right? I mean, people really should ask Kennedy's. I would really like Kennedy to release how many big pharma medications he's been on for the last 10 years, including all the steroids he's taking, okay? And more than likely, I'll probably, if people want a cage fight, maybe I'll challenge Kennedy to a cage fight. You know, that's what Musk and Zucker are doing, me and him in a cage, you know, until knockout. He can take all the juice that he wants. I've never touched that stuff. But he needs to release all the big pharma medications he's taking. Okay? So this guy's an absolute fraud. And Laura Ingraham and Fox News are silent on this fraud. Why? Because they know that people listening in our audience right here, okay, and people all over the world are breaking from the left and the right. They're figuring this shit out because of our movement. People are understanding system science because of our movement. Because of all the hard work we did in 2020, 500 million people all over the world saw my videos, and they saw the sincerity in the work I was doing. They saw that I put my money where my mouth is. They saw I talk the talk. So in response to that, Kristen, the conservative, quote unquote, bullshitting right wants to actually suppress our movement.
Right.
So they found this Trojan horse, bullshitting, douchebag, POS, scumbag, Booby Kennedy, and all of those terms fit him. That's the only terms we should use to describe him, and are using him as a Trojan horse to sucker conservatives. It's quite evil what Laura Ingraham's doing. She knows this. She knows that I was the only one calling him out. She knows Kennedy's full of shit, and not one question. That's why Laura Ingraham is doing this. And to those people listening, you know, I've mentioned the movement for truth, freedom, and health a couple of times, and I want people to understand it is the only movement on the planet that gives people the knowledge, the education, the community, the technology, all the science, and the bottoms-up movement so we can win against the swarm, be it Kennedy or the Bidens, Hunter Biden or Kennedy. They're all part of one. And I just want to, as we continue, I know you have a number more questions. I just want to take a quick break so all of you new get inspired to join the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Okay? Because that is what I will do as president. I will do videos like this every day. We know the presidency is corrupt. We know the legislature is corrupt. We know the executive branch is corrupt. We know the judicial branch is corrupt. The only way out of it is the goal of a president is to be the bully pulpit to inspire people bottoms up. And that's what I will do. I'll do video after video like this. We're not going to end. So let me play all of you our anthem video that really describes why every one of you must become a truth, freedom, and health warrior, and the opportunity for each one of you to get off your butts, not listen to stupid Laura Ingraham who suppressed a story about Kennedy, or to CNN. I know you're going to ask some questions about CNN too. So let me go over here and play this video.
We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is the not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement, and that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. his own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these 4 concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhelp.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. Now, the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhelp.com, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhelp.com.
So I want to recommend everyone, as Kristen's gone through the program, she's one of our Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior Scholar journalists, for yourself and your family, go through the Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior training program. Also join us every Thursdays at 11 a.m. And 8 p.m. We have an open house. You can go to vashiva.com/orientation at 8 p.m. U.S. Time. We also do a town hall. You can go to shivaforpresident.com/town hall. But anyway, I just want to let everyone know, a number of people have been saying we get shadow banned, as you know, Kristen, by both the left and the right media sources. So we want people to like this video, comment on it, right? Share it, hit the notification button if you're on YouTube or Facebook, etc. It's one of the ways that we get around their censors. But regardless of that, we know that the future is offline. So anyway, Kristen, so we've covered, your first question was, here's Hunter Biden's degeneracy, and they match Kennedy's degeneracy. I would argue Kennedy's degeneracy is even worse. But the media, one wing of the media, CNN, covers up Hunter Biden, and Fox News is covering up Kennedy. We just shared Laura Ingram's tweet, or the tweet I did exposing Laura Ingram as essentially a Kennedy, swarm creature. Okay, but go ahead. You have some more questions, I know.
Yes, I do. So thank you for getting into that with your Laura Ingram and talking about that. And so I think to take it to sort of like the next layer of this, you've discussed this theater and the left and the right, and they're protecting each of these people. But I would like to ask you more about, you had mentioned Anderson Cooper. Now, it appears that Anderson Cooper, who is CNN, it appears that he has not tweeted not one time about Hunter Biden, and Anderson Cooper has 0 tweets about Kennedy. So
well, he has some tweets about Kennedy.
Okay, very few though.
Very few. Yeah.
So,
but he has nothing. When I looked at it, he's got not one tweet exposing Hunter Biden, just like Laura Ingram on the quote unquote right had an opportunity to expose Kennedy and she did nothing. And again, Anderson Cooper, who's from CNN, has basically said nothing, not one tweet. People can go look at a search, not one tweet about Hunter Biden. So just put that into mind. CNN, the biggest media giant on the quote unquote left, and its main anchor, Anderson Cooper, has said not one word about the degeneracy of Hunter Biden. And Laura Ingram, who is supposedly a Catholic Christian mother, when she's got Robert Kennedy right there, she lets him lie through his teeth that he was against lockdowns. Okay? So and she is essentially, after Fucker Carlson's leaving, she's really the main anchor at Fox News. So everyone get that? That's the data. Okay? So when you look at that, the same process goes here, right? Just as the conservatives are putting a Trojan horse of Kennedy, right? The left has their Trojan horses. They have, the Bernie Sanders, the AOCs, right? And Hunter Biden is part of that family. That's what you have to he's part of that left swarm. But the left and the right swarm actually work together. That's why so many people on the left and the right swarm all went to Epstein's Island. Okay. As you mentioned, Kennedy, some people are asking, yes, he was in the Epstein flight logs. And then he claims, oh, I just went there. I needed to raise some money. Okay. So all of these people keep having excuses.
Right.
And people excuse them no different than, it's almost like the abuser who beats his wife every day, brings flowers, and she forgets the 5 years of abuse he's done, says, oh, he forgives him. Okay. So that's what they're doing with Kennedy. But the reason Anderson has not said anything, Cooper at CNN, Hunter Biden, because it exposes all their degeneracy. And he's going to have to cover also Kennedy's degeneracy. And then Fox News will have to cover his degeneracy. So they're all very, very walking on eggshells, uncovering the degeneracy of both Biden and both Kennedy, because they know it's going to expose their degeneracy.
Exactly. I
Right.
think that what you just said there is very important, because you did mention this, and that this is a swarm. And for anyone out there that has not seen the swarm video, please watch it. It's, in my opinion, one of the best videos I've ever seen. But you mentioned how they're a swarm. They're all intricately connected. They're all one.
They move together as one. They're telepathic. So for everyone listening, I have a bunch of books here on system science. One of the things you learn is system swarm intelligence is not localized. It's much more sort of telepathic. You join a club, and if you don't, hang out with the club, it's not like it's everyone sort of talks through whispers and they get rid of you. Okay. That's how it works. And you have to understand that. So, but they also talk and whisper, supporting each other. That's why if you look, Kristen, Laura Ingram's mentor, Tucker Carlson, on October 30th, 2020, everyone can look it up. When the Hunter Biden stuff was coming out, he said, let's go light on Hunter Biden. Everyone should go look it up. He said, let's go light on Hunter Biden. Why? Because they're all friends. Their wives are friends. They're all friends, guys. They're not one of us. And that's the real message. You're not one of us.
Right. And I believe that's why they're so afraid of you, Dr. Shiva, and why they trying to shadow ban you and intentionally conceal you. And that kind of leads into my next question. After you just discussed with what's going on there with Cooper and Ingram, now I want to ask you a little bit more about another character. So back in 2020, I remember personally, you were fighting in federal law and federal court. You had a historic Win Back Freedom lawsuit. It was a very exciting time, not just here in Massachusetts, but all over the country and the world. I think close to 250 million people saw your videos. I remember some of those court hearings having over 400 people in a session watching that. So it was a really huge, huge lawsuit. Now, during that time, you had taken it all the way to federal court, and Tucker Carlson intentionally concealed your lawsuit and the whole thing that was going on there in 2020. My question is, why now is Tucker Carlson promoting Kennedy? And second to that is, why is Tucker Carlson promoting Elon Musk as some kind of fighter against censorship? And just for the audience, in case it wasn't clear, in 2020, Dr. Shiva had a federal lawsuit, First Amendment lawsuit, in which he discovered the Twitter partnership support portal and how the government and social media works hand in glove to launder censorship. And Tucker Carlson knew about this and intentionally concealed it. So now he's trying to talk about Elon Musk as some kind of fighter against censorship. So that's my question right there, is why is he promoting Kennedy? And why is he promoting Elon Musk as some sort of...
Well, I think since we're talking about Hunter Biden and Kennedy, let's focus this, okay?
Okay.
If you look at Tucker Carlson, he protects both people, okay? By the way, I'm showing you the details from winbackfreedom.com. In October of 2020, Tucker Carlson knew about our lawsuit. I informed him. He got the email. and he knew that we had discovered the backdoor portal, and that and he did nothing. He intentionally concealed it. But let's get back to the focus here of how the media suppresses both. So Tucker Carlson, on that same time in October of 2020, was literally suppressing the news on Hunter Biden, concealing Hunter Biden's degeneracy. And now in 2023, he is suppressing the degeneracy of Kennedy. And he intentionally concealed the most historic lawsuit in 2020 of our discovery. So what he's doing is he's really a master at concealing the lies that should come out. And he also conceals truth that needs to come out at the right time. And why does he do this? Because he's part of Tucker Carlson. If you were to draw a diagram of the swarm, he would be right in the center of it, on the left and the right. I mean, look at the way the guy dresses. Okay, he's a preppy. Okay, he's not one of us, seriously. And the preppies are the ultimate example of the integration of the left and the right, liberal imperialism. So his friends are doofuses like Glenn Greenwald, who also suppressed our lawsuit, concealed it, and Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden's wife. They all, by the way, guys, they all hang out together. So Tucker Carlson's got Hunter Biden as his friend over here, and he has Kennedy as his friend over here. Does everyone understand this? So what does he do? He's a master concealer. He conceals Hunter Biden's degeneracy and actually makes the public feel sad. If you go look at his video, he's saying, he makes him feel sad. He's been through a lot. And he does the same thing for Kennedy because he is part of the intelligence community. That's what he is. Look at where he grew up, all around that Washington, D.C. CIA intelligence environment. He would never have been an anchor at Fox if not for that. The only reason he was fired at Fox was because he got too big for his britches in terms of his lying. If I were Fox, I would fire him. I don't give a fuck about Fox. Here he's at Fox. He was always denouncing election fraud. He was poo-pooing it. And all the text messages revealed that, there's no election fraud. It's all nonsense. But then when he saw the MAGA group starting to embrace election fraud, taking it for real, then he starts doing news stories on election fraud. But internally, there's documented text messages where he doesn't believe in any of it. And the reason Fox had to fire him was because this is called malicious defamation. You see, Dominion is a publicly traded company. You have to not only prove defamation was done, but you have to show it was malicious. How do you show maliciousness or malice? You have to show that someone actually knew what they were saying was not truthful and they still promoted it. And that's what his text messages proved. So instead of suffering a $1.5 billion loss or more treble damages, they would have to pay $5 billion. They decided to pay them, $750 million and get out and fire Fucker. And meanwhile, Fucker goes and plays the next. They all play martyrdom games. Like he was a martyr. And then he's fighting for us. And now he's exposing stuff. Bullshit. So that's why our movement exists. So people need to understand Tucker Carlson promotes Kennedy, conceals all his degeneracy, makes the public feel sad for Hunter Biden, suppresses his degeneracy because he's part of the swarm. They're all friends. They're not one of us. Period. That's why. They're not one of us. They have their club. They protect one another. I mean, they literally go to the same clubs and they hang out and they have their tea and they play croquet, and they walk around with the ponies with their kids, and they don't want anyone to feel bad. So they everything that you see outer is a fake fight. Internally, they're all friends. And you have to understand this at a deep level.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. I think and I'll wrap it up with a final question in just a second. Everything that you've described, it makes a lot of sense. And it's great to talk about these different examples because people can really see what's going on in real time with the theater and the lies from the media. And then on top of it, when the way, your system's approaches shows us that they are a swarm. They all are one. So one final question that will give the audience another example of this is with the person, Elon Musk. So within the context of Hunter Biden and the conversation that we're having with the left and the right media and how they protect Hunter Biden and they protect Kennedy. Elon Musk has been silent on Hunter Biden and on Kennedy. The other thing is Elon Musk has been promoting Kennedy, and we've seen it with you, Dr. Shiva, that your tweets have been actively shadow banned, increasingly harder to your views are going down when you started exposing Elon Musk, and it's also with the Kennedy stuff. So this guy Elon is promoting Kennedy and actively like suppressing his detractors. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about that and explain to the audience what's going on there, just to give us another example of how this all works.
Yeah, so with Elon Musk, as I've said in many blog post videos, Elon Musk, the simple way to think about Elon Musk, Kristen, is he's a government frontman, period. He's a government frontman for China. He's a government frontman for all the European prime ministers. He's a government frontman for the United States government, okay? You notice in the last 3 months, he's done all of this, his tour, right? This drug addict goes around acting like he's some genius, does a tour, okay? So first he promotes China. He says China and the United States are conjoined twins. We have the same interests, okay? Think about what he's saying. And all of his batteries are made in China. 92% of all the stuff that comes out of the Tesla cars are dependent on China. In the United States, his entire wealth is dependent on the U.S. State Department and the U.S. government or the U.S. military. SpaceX, nearly at minimum $6 billion up to $15 billion in government tax largesse, right? SpaceX would not exist. By the way, he didn't really create anything. He knows very little about aeronautics, astronautics, nothing, right? Then you go look at Tesla. He didn't start Tesla. He literally took over someone's company, put his name on it, and fought with them to get his name on there. Tesla would not be worth $600 billion were it not for the government carbon tax credits. And everyone should go do their research on it. $1.5 billion in tax credits, which gave them profitability. And then you go look at Twitter. Twitter is completely dependent on the government. So he said he voted for Biden. If you go look at his tweet history, except for saying on December 2nd, 2022, something about, oh, there was some suppression of Hunter Biden's story. That's it. Not one negative stuff against Hunter Biden. Okay. And not one negative stuff against Kennedy. But Kennedy sucks him off and he jacks Kennedy off. Why? Kennedy's promoting that Elon Musk is a fighter for censorship when it's so far from the truth. Elon Musk still maintains a government backdoor portal to Twitter.
Right.
And Elon Musk needs Kennedy to convince the quote unquote conservatives that as though he's a fighter for free speech. So anyone who sucks off Elon Musk saying he's a fighter for free speech, right, gets views and clicks. When I started exposing Musk, I went from 500,000 views per day down to 5,000 views per day. The only reason videos like this get out is for everyone listening because of you. You guys need to make these videos go viral. I can't do it. They have me in a digital cage. So it's like you guys have to come to the quote unquote concentration camp or the imprisonment camp, get my news, and you guys have to take it out. Literally. I mean, I'm literally in a cage. And Elon Musk is a racist. He comes from apartheid South Africa, where he's a caste. And portion of the you should say it again, okay? Because you there?
I think there's something wrong with my connection, but I hear you now.
Yeah. And the other piece is, let me repeat that again. People said they're losing us. So the Elon Musk needs any connection to the government, any connection to the swarm. So that's why he has not exposed Kennedy for his degeneracy. Why? Two reasons. Elon Musk himself is a degenerate, okay? As much as Kennedy, as much as Biden. You see, you need to really take away from these. These people have no values. They're not one of us. I'll repeat that 3 times. Repeat after me. They are not one of us. If one thing you're going to take away from this, they are not one of us. And again, they are not one of us. You're looking at someone like me, like Kristen, the people in our movement, the people who are joining us tonight. Okay. We are one of us. Right. They are not one of us, Christian. So to those people who joined, the interview here was really as, why does CNN protect Hunter Biden? And why does Fox News protect Booby F. Kennedy? Because they're all one. We're the outsiders, okay? That's who we are. So that's very important to recognize that they are not one of us. And they do not want one of us ever coming into power. They do not want one of us ever representing us. So that's what this is about.
That's fantastic, Dr. Shiva. And we really appreciate your time and going into these topics today and helping people to understand what's really going on behind the theater and what they're seeing. I want to let you know that here in Massachusetts, we are super excited about your presidential campaign. We here in Truth, Freedom, and Health, there are lots of us that are pursuing the truth. We do see through the left-right nonsense. And so it's wonderful to have a person leading such as yourself. So there are lots of us out there watching and working for truth, freedom, and health. And we do support you and look forward to being part of this Shiva for President campaign.
Yeah. So in summary, Kristen, I think you brought up some great things. One is, as we close out today, we've basically, if you just on a whiteboard, maybe I'll do this. If you just lined up all the degeneracy of Hunter Biden and you put it next to Kennedy, Kennedy's list would probably be bigger. And the so-called right-wing conservative media, which cares about kids, which is against pedophilia, which believes in family values, all of this stuff is absolutely silent on Kennedy, but they will attack Hunter Biden. Same way, the left media is absolutely silent on Hunter Biden. So that shows they work together and they create. And the reason they're doing this is not they get two things. They protect themselves, but they divide us.
That's right.
This is what's really a double whammy, and people need to understand. They protect themselves. It's like they huddle together and they divide all of us. Okay, that's the main takeaway. And our movement and my run for United States president is not about me. It's about you guys. It's about all of us having the opportunity to bring one of us to lead us and ensure that people like Kristen and you guys can become bottoms up leaders. So I just want to come back with the final 2 minutes of comments. But before I do that, I think, Kristen, we must play for people. What does it mean to be one of us? People are asking that. And let me play our campaign video because it'll tell you what our run for president is, why you finally have one of us running for president. So let me play that and then we'll get final comments from you, Kristen. Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment and the not-so-obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science. Lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time
never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. And that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health, to win back America. Be part of this historic movement, all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. President. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for President.
All right, people are asking, do we need volunteers? Yes. So
Yes.
here's some action steps everyone can do. Go to shivaforpresident.com. It's right below or above, depending on where you're looking at it. And you can sign up as a volunteer. The other thing you can do is you can donate, but please keep in mind, all of these freaking billionaires, I have no idea why they need money. In my case, when you donate to us, I give you stuff back. You know, you donate, you get a bumper sticker. You donate, we have an entire course I give you. You donate nothing, and you still get a membership to where you get access to books, you get access to theory papers and material. So go do that. Ours is a movement, and we're doing my run for United States president to galvanize you to realize what it means not to just be that service is citizenship. That's what real service is. That's what citizenship is. It's not on November 2022, every 2 years you get up and you pull some lever or you fill out a bogus elections model, but you actually mobilize. And we have created that infrastructure for you to get mobilized. So go to shivaforpresident.com, volunteer, and donate, whichever one you want to do, or both. It's up to you. And those of you recognized as an inventor, as a system scientist, have also created this entire innovation. All of these numbnuts, Kennedy can't create anything. Mama and Papa had to feed him. Mama and Papa had to get him off when he was on drugs. Mama and Papa had to call him to getting into Harvard. Everything I have, like all of you, when I say one of us, we've had to earn everything. We do something wrong, we're accountable. These people are completely unaccountable. So that system of understanding their manipulation, of a community that we've built for ourselves, and the technology and the knowledge, go to truthfreedomhealth.com. That's another way you can support yourself and become a Truth Freedom Health member, warrior, supporter, okay? Membership is absolutely free, right? Become a volunteer. That's absolutely free, but get involved. This is about building a bottoms-up movement. That's what this is about. So, Kristen, any final words and we'll sign off.
Yeah, fantastic, Dr. Shiva. Excellent. Great interview. I just want to end by saying that, you know, Dr. Shiva, you've been absolutely consistent on everything from the beginning, and you're still consistent. These other guys, it's like literally they watch which way the wind blows. And I think most of us that are watching you right now understand this. And so we really do appreciate that you're giving regular people, working people, a platform to volunteer, to get educated, to do citizen journalism, and to learn how to be leaders and to create this bottoms up movement. And we really appreciate that. So thank you very much for your time, and great interview.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Be well, be the light, and get off your butts, get involved. We've created an infrastructure. I ask people to give 2% of their time, during the day. It's a very short amount of time, about 20 minutes a day, to support what we're doing. And remember, do it. If you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your children, because the life expectancy in the United States is going down like this. Democrats and Republicans, Kennedys, Trumps, Clintons, Bushes, they've all are part of that. They don't give a damn about you, but I do, because I'm one of you, and you do because you're one of me, and we're all connected in a very deep way. And we have to shatter the swarm. So be well, be the light. Thank you.
Thank you.